One. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Barrios. I'm from the IGAN Foundation of America. And each Friday, I'll be interviewing a fellow kidney recipient or living donor to share their journey or their process through this. And today, I have Kathy Kelsey from New Jersey to share her story on being a living donor. Hey, Kathy, thanks for coming along, giving me a few minutes, and I appreciate the time. So I'll start with the basic, if you don't mind me asking, before you started the process of donating your kidney, kind of tell me about what you knew about organ donation and kidney donation from the beginning.
Okay. Well, to put it in a nutshell, I never really even thought about it, quite honestly. I think I'm like most of the people in the general population. When you get your license, and you're given that opportunity, would you like to be an organ donor? You just check the box.
Yep.
And you don't, you put it back in your wallet and you don't really give it much thought, honestly. I mean, I told you I'm from Ohio, so I've been driving since I was 16, and it was just like, yeah, I really never thought about it. Never thought about it.
Sure. So tell me a little bit about kind of how this process started for you and wanting to say, okay, I'm going to donate a kidney, and how that came about for you in that respect.
Well, when my husband Artie, we were trying to figure out the dates and stuff, and I think it was actually probably like 2011 when he started experiencing some symptoms. He was diagnosed with IgA neuropathy, and then we just kind of started that quest to find, to try to find him a match.
Mm-hmm.
We had gone to a facility to get him fitted for a fistula,
Okay.
for dialysis,
Right.
Dialysis port, just in case it came to that.
Sure.
But it was just a very frightening time, I would say.
Sure.
We learned a lot. Anything we learned, we made sure that we told other people about it. And that I think the one thing that everybody should know, being a living donor, there was no way that they would ever thought of trying to take someone who was healthy, and they would never compromise your health to save someone that wasn't well.
Mm-hmm.
Never, never, never.
Sure.
I would never do that.
Sure.
Oh, but I think one of the things that is so important too is there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of myths or misconceptions. And so I think that's why we try to spread the awareness so that people do know the facts.
Yep. Exactly. Would you say there's any surprises you had in donating the kidney that you were just like, wow, this is what anything that just kind of caught you off guard, or that you were just surprised about?
Well, which is kind of odd, one of my good friends, who I've known for like over 30 years, she actually gave her husband a kidney. I know, real small group. We have like a special handshake. But she had her transplant, I want to say like 12 years ago, 13 years ago. And I remember when she went through her surgery, they had to go through her back. So her recovery was a little bit extended.
Sure.
When I went in for my surgery and they told me what they were doing, it's totally different now. My surgery was maybe an hour and a half, through Da Vinci knives and laser surgery and things like that.
Right.
I just have a little appendectomy scar.
Mm-hmm.
So my recovery, I would say it's almost like kind of like when you have a C-section.
Okay.
Like lifting anything or exerting force.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, I was surprised at I'm going to say the simplicity of it. but it was. And then with Artie, instead of him having to have 2 surgeries where they took out his diseased kidneys and then implanted mine,
Mm-hmm.
they left his kidneys in,
Yep.
and they just, became
Connected everything.
non-functioning.
Yes.
And his new kidney is then implanted in the front.
Mm-hmm.
But we had our surgery on a Tuesday morning, and Wednesday afternoon they came in and cleared me to go home. I was like,
amazing.
I'm the lady that had, and they're like, oh no, you're good. I'm like, wow. So things have changed dramatically in that regard.
Yeah.
In that regard.
That's wonderful. Okay. So, something that I've noticed, and maybe, I don't know, in your advocacy and what you've done so far in your organization in your part of the country, I've seen, and in Kentucky, I've noticed this too, that living donation is slowing down. There's not a big, like you mentioned, awareness. Do you have any, insights on why you think it could be, why it's slowing down, why people aren't wanting to donate? What are your thoughts on that?
I think, I hope that changes its course, that it goes, back up onto an on-tick. I think, I know here in New Jersey, we haven't had a decline.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's because of our concentrated efforts in New Jersey, through public education and awareness and things,
Mm-hmm.
but I actually see a little bit of an uptick here.
Sure.
And not just with kidneys. I think people are more aware. They realize, like, for example, when we were at St. Barnabas, they were in the process of a chain,
Right.
where it's an altruistic donor. And then you find other people, and because it's a scheduled surgery, so people came from all over the country to donate their kidney to a complete stranger,
Mm-hmm.
so that their loved one could, receive a kidney. So I haven't noticed that here.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, one of my bosses, her husband gave his kidney altruistically.
Mm-hmm.
One of the ladies on our board had decided that she was going to give her kidney altruistically. And her husband goes, well, you know what? I think I might do that too. So just in our small organization, we've had 3 people, donate their kidneys to strangers.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, is there anybody in your life that has that influenced your decision on wanting to becoming an organ donor for your kidney donor for your husband? Was it anybody that it's influenced you and just kind of said, okay, I want to do this for him, or other folks? I mean, there's lots of stories out there who are they have an influence as to why they want to have it happen or why they want to do it. Is there anybody other than it being your husband and him being sick? I mean, was that the obvious, or is there anything else?
Well, I think too, this sounds odd, but my mom was always very aware of other people in need, or always thankful for what we had. And she always would say, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Sure.
And I when I found out I was the match, there was absolutely no hesitation on my part.
Sure.
Absolutely none. I don't know. I just didn't even think. I didn't think twice about it, because, well, I know anybody would of course do it for me, but I just, the enormity. And I think this sounds odd too, but I think I was a teacher. I'm the oldest in my family, so just trying to be in control. Trying to control things in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I think it really was an eye-opener that you can't control much. Like, look at today.
Sure.
You can't control much. So many things are out of your hands.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had to turn that over to something else.
Sure.
I think one of the best quotes I heard from someone too, you know, because I was worried. I have one daughter. You know, I can't imagine what it must have been like for her, you know, to see both your parents go into an operating room. And you know, somebody had said to me, worrying is like being in a rocking chair.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you something to do,
Nothing.
but you don't go anywhere.
Exactly.
And I think that that was the big thing for me. My worrying about the outcome wasn't going to change the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like even like a little thing, like our surgeon had asked, he knew I was a teacher, and he asked if we would be willing to have students that were interested in medicine and surgery go to the Liberty Science Center here, and then they would be able to watch our surgery as it was being performed.
Wow.
And they could ask questions
There you go.
as it was happening.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
And I just thought, wow, like how cool is that?
Yeah, that's pretty.
You know, and so that's the last thing I saw going into the operating room were kids coming in.
That's really cool.
And I think that awareness, and by us going into the high schools, I never had that in high school. Did you?
Nope. Not even a little bit. No.
Not even a little bit. I think with these kids that are, you know, 16, 17, 18, and hearing the numbers and all those kinds of things, might light a fire.
Yeah.
For them. And you know, you look at what's happening globally now.
Right.
Everybody is working together to try to come up with a vaccine.
Exactly.
When we talk to kids, we're like, okay, you guys can telecommunicate. Have everybody try to make this thing be a thing of the past.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So my last question for you, Kathy, is you've kind of mentioned it, but like kind of sum it up. What would you tell somebody who is thinking about becoming a living kidney donor? What would you tell them as they go through that process?
Well, quite honestly, don't make me cry. It's really a gift of life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sorry. I can't imagine, first of all, not having my husband. And before we knew I was the match, I was going to try to do the altruistic route, just to give him a chance. It's the gift of life. It truly is the gift of life. He's here. You know, I mean, this was in 2011. And I remember, you know, just trying to always be the cheerleader and trying to be optimistic with him. Inside, so worried that I would not have him. And so when I was given the opportunity, I was just like, oh, yes, please, of course. So, you know, and he is extremely grateful and so thankful.
Sure.
You know, we are so lucky. You know, we're so lucky. So it's the gift of life. And I will tell you that this was like probably one of the coolest things. When I was getting ready to go through my surgery, of course, I told my students, I said, well, I'm going to be out for a couple months. They knew what was going on with my husband.
Sure.
And I told them, I said, I'm the match. They're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I said, and they go, I couldn't do it. I said, well, you don't have to.
Yeah.
I made sure when I was in the recovery room, I FaceTime my substitutes so I could wave to them and say I was okay.
Awesome.
They were very worried.
Sure.
But I'm like, no, I'm okay. And, see, I'm gonna cry again. I found out that one of my former students, Jake, was able to give a portion of his liver to his little sister.
That's wonderful.
And he so nicely said to me, well, I figured if you could do it. I was like, okay, if I could do it, then of course he could do it. So I think if nothing else happens through my community service and awareness, the fact that one person used me as an example, my work is done.
Sure. As a recipient, for me, from my heart to you, thank you.
Oh,
I'm a
thank
recipient.
you.
I'm a 12-year kidney transplant recipient myself, and my living donor and I have a conversation. Have a good relationship together.
Now, how did yours come about?
So mine came about through a lady I went to church with, and my diagnosis, my kidney failed due to actually just high blood pressure, and then later found out it was actually through I had an acute rejection episode, and it failed, and we found out I had IgA in my transplanted kidney. So through the living donor, through having conversations at my church, a lady who I went to church with was willing to donate. She tested, and happened pretty quickly, and it'll be 13 years for me in June. So yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
As a recipient, and what you do, having these kind of these talks with you and other folks who are willing to share their stories, it means the world of love for me. I appreciate it as somebody who's received a second
Oh,
chance. Thank you so much. It means
oh,
so much.
thank you. And please, I'm sorry I got so
No,
emotional.
it's okay. No, I'm glad we did it. That's okay. So
So, like sometimes even now, I'll run into, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm fine. Like, how's Artie? And I'll forget because it was like 6 years ago. I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, thank you for asking. We're fine. We're fine. And
yeah.
I think when they see us, out and about or whatever, we're just like yourself. You're just a living testament that it works.
Yep. Exactly.
That it works. Now, how often do you have to go back and get yourself
Twice
checked?
a year, usually twice a year. Sometimes
Yeah.
if numbers are looking kind of a little off, sometimes a little every few months. Depends on how my levels are looking and how I'm feeling, of course, too. So yeah, it's going
Yeah.
well. It's going well.
Good. Well, I hope I get to meet you in person
Yes,
sometime.
we will. I will be
We
connected.
definitely
We will
will.
connect. We definitely will.
Oh, thank you so much.
Kathy, thank you so much for this interview. And
Oh,
we will definitely keep in touch. You have a wonderful day.
you too. Thanks so much, Alex.
Take care. Bye bye.
Okay, bye-bye.